Hey there, Start here. So yeah, we've got big Clash of Wills coming up. It's the final Clash of Wills of the year, which always falls on the anniversary. A lot of exciting anniversary news. I watched the live stream. You know, I'm excited about the units coming out. There wasn't a whole lot else in the live stream that really, you know, got me all too excited about the future of FFBE, but I'm very much excited for this Clash of Wills. I'm excited for the units that are coming out, specifically Elena. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, right up front, I am going all in on Elena. I want to get her to at least EX2 right away. I want to try and get her ready to go into Clash of Wills on day one. And so with that said, like, you know, when I'm discussing teams and things later on in this video, Elena is going to be a staple in pretty much every team I take into this Clash of Wills coming up. I cannot pass up that huge Clash of Wills leader skill that she's bringing, and you know, I think she's going to bring, you know, decent damage, some support skills that are going to be really nice to have in this upcoming Clash of Wills. I'm not sold on Richt yet. I don't know if I'm going to pull for him or not, being premium. Really just depends on what his damage and what his kit looks like. But yeah, Elena is a for sure pull for me. You know, her kit would have to be like seriously, like a serious dumpster fire for me to say, actually, wait a minute, no. And I don't think she's going to have a dumpster fire kit. It may not be like the best kit in the world, but the leader skill alone is huge, and that's massive for me. And I don't have a good Clash of Wills leader yet. So yeah, this will be really great. And the fact that Ibarra's on her banner too, which I don't have Ibarra, so the chance of being able to pick up another, or to be able to pick up my first Ibarra would be really nice on her banner. Really quick, I'm just gonna, you know, I am going to talk, this is mostly about Clash of Wills. I'm not going to go over all the news and everything, but I do want to just look at Elena's banner. And of course, Ibarra is on Elena's banner. So I don't really know how to feel about it. For me personally, I'm kind of excited because I was like, oh, I don't have Ibarra. Great. This is another chance for me to pick up Ibarra. I do feel bad for people that want to pick up Elena but already have Ibarra EX3 because they went in, you know, they went all in for Ibarra back in whenever it was, February. I feel bad for those people because they're, you know, Ibarra is essentially a troll for those people. Now, if your Ibarra is EX2 and you're hoping to pick up a few more copies to get to EX3, well, then yeah, this might be good. So for me personally, I like having both of them on this banner, even though Elena is the one I definitely want. You'll notice there are two step-ups. There is a vision card, a special vision card. The vision card, you know, it's not anything super fantastic. It's pretty nice. It comes with a 100% ramping fire amp to the person wearing the vision card. And it also comes with 100% killers to Demon, Human, and Fairy, which is what the current boss is going to be, which will be very nice. So I'm definitely going to pick up that vision card. I will note that the last step, the step for the vision card on that step up, note that it does not have a pity ticket on it. All right, so the first 5 steps have pity tickets. Step 6 does not look like it has a pity ticket on it. So what that means is, you know, after doing, if you do the full step up, which is 28,000, you then have to do, I think 2 full, like 2.5 laps on the second step up. So that comes to a total of 50,000 lapis if you want to go for the vision card. If you skip out on the vision card, I think you can get a pity for 44,000. Someone correct me in the comments below if my math is off, but I think that is correct. Now, me personally, I'm going to be going all in for the vision card, and then I'll finish the pity for Elena. Hopefully I pick up, you know, at least one Elena along the way. Maybe pick up an Ibarra along the way. There are shards both for Elena and for Ibarra in the coin shop, which is really nice. And so if you go to pity for either one, you'll be able to get enough coins to pick up shards, 50 shards for each unit in the shop, or at least I believe so. Ibarra is premium, so maybe, I don't know, they might they might bump up the cost on Ibarra's shards. We won't actually know until we get in there, but it did say that Ibarra's shards are in the coin shop, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, I'm going all in on Elena, so just letting you know. Richt seems really nice. I'm sure he'll be extremely strong. You know, it looks like he's got some breaks and imperils in his kit. If it looks like he's going to make this Clash of Wills boss very, very easy to go for, or you know, much easier to clear, I might pull him anyways. It really depends on how my pulls go for Elena. If I get EX2 Elena just by going to pity, or even before I reach pity, then maybe I'll throw some Lapis at Richt too. You see, I've got, you know, 123,000. I'm going to get the 10,000 from Vision World plus the 14,000 from the producer's gift. So I'm going to be close to 150,000 Lapis, you know, on after maintenance. So I could potentially go for both units and still have Lapis left in the bank. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So enough about that. Let's get to Clash of Wills. Now, this is, like I said, it's the last Clash of Wills of the year, which always falls on the anniversary time, which means it's typically a little bit more interesting. It's typically a fair bit more difficult than most previous Clash of Wills. They typically put a lot more effort into the boss as far as like AI is concerned. We are fighting the Vestige of Eithne. Not sure how exactly to pronounce that. But she is a human demon fairy, so again, 3 killers. We should expect this to be the norm going forward, having a 3 race boss. All right, I fully expect that from here on out. 3 weaknesses, light being the major weakness, meaning light will probably have a 40% innate imperil. Ice and dark will have an innate 15% imperil from the get-go. All right, so definitely, you know, if you have a strong light team, that's definitely the way to go. Like me personally, I'm already thinking I'm bringing the near units. I'm going to be bringing the new Elena so that the near units get the big cow unit buff. I've been very excited to finally bring near back, because since my leader has been flaring Ether Rain for quite a long time, I have not been able to really utilize my near units. I'm going to get Elena so I can bring near units back and, you know, bring them back into the fold. I'm very excited to use them again in Clash of Wills. The boss itself uses ice, wind, and light, and non-elemental physical and magic attacks. So, you know, immediately, you know, you could probably bring an Omni cover tank if you want to, and just build up resistances. They did say that the boss is going to do a big 300% ice imperil, but if you bring Elena can do a 300% ice party buff. All right, so you know, that kind of takes care of that. If you're not bringing Elena, you might want to consider bringing a dedicated magic tank such as Abby, and then use Mirage to mirage the physical attacks. So we don't know. You know, it apparently she's going to use a pretty wide variety of elemental and non-elemental attacks, both physical and magic. So we really have to kind of wait and see. I hope we don't have to bring both a physical and a magic tank. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Boosts own parameters and reduces party's parameters. That's pretty standard. Bosses buff themselves. Bosses like to break the party. So obviously just bring break resistance and be prepared to dispel the boss when it does its buffs. You know, if you have units that can do perfect dispel with regular usage, or, you know, even better, on demand, then, you know, that would probably be the way to go. I don't know if the boss is going to buff itself with regular frequency, or if it's just like during thresholds or whatnot, but that's something to keep in mind. Inflicts sleep and paralysis, that's whatever, you know, bring either build for ailment immunity, or bring someone that can boost ailment immunity. That's easy. Activates an area effect that boosts ice, wind, and light damage. So depending on the strength of the Imperils and whether or not you can or cannot resist, you know, build your party or your tank for full resistance, that may not matter. So if the, you know, if the Imperils aren't really all that that harmful, and you can negate all the elemental damage, we might just say who cares about this field. If that's not the case, you might want to consider somebody that can put up a field to replace the boss's field. All right, this might be something that is also going to be pretty common going forward, where the boss uses fields. The last cow boss used a field that you did have to get rid of because it buffed the boss's defense and spirit. This one remains to be seen whether or not we will actually need to get rid of the field or not. But if you cannot build your team or your tank for full resistance, you might need to get rid of it. All right, so keep that in mind. So for this one, adding ice, wind, or light element to the physical attacks of your units will increase your morale. I'm not sure why wind, considering wind is not one of the weaknesses of the boss. I'm not sure why adding wind would boost your morale, but there it is. But you will potentially be adding ice or light element. So if you have someone that can do that on demand as, like, you know, one of their actions, that could boost your morale significantly in this fight. Also, we get a new morale skill on the morale bar, which is boosting ice and light resistance by 150% for all allies. Now this is the one that has me excited. So the number of turns for clear is being taken away, and they're adding in and in its place they're putting in the final morale value. Okay, so this is like your score at the end, right? So normally you have to try and finish the boss within 10 turns, or you start to lose points and can't rank 1. So they're getting rid of that, which they did last year for Thranothor, which means that this is probably going to be a longer fight, which I love. I'm very excited about this. It's one of the things I really loved about Thranothor last year, is that it was not a boss that you could just, you know, it wasn't your typical, all right, I'm going to do my burst on turn 5 and then I'm going to kill it by turn 10 to make sure I get my rank 1. No, Thranothor was like, all right, this is a slugfest. You know, you're going to just be doing lots of consistent damage. You're going to be doing several bursts to try and get this thing killed, and hopefully hit your damage cap at some point, but it's probably going to take 15, 20, 30, 40 turns, you know, just depending on your team. I think Thranothor took me, I think my rank 1 was like 22 turns or something like that. And it was very, like, I loved it. I loved it. So I'm very, very excited about this. It looks like it's going to be another long, just like slugfest, just back and forth. And I'm hoping that the boss's AI changes like Thranothor did. Like, that was one of the coolest things about Thranothor, was that his AI changed at each threshold. I think he had 3 thresholds, like 75, 50, and 25. And each time you pass one of those thresholds, his AI changed completely. So I really hope they do something similar with Eithne. That was a very cool thing. Would love to see that again. So I'm very, very excited about this. The only other thing I want to talk about here is that they are upgrading the Celestite Vest. And they are giving it bumping up the stats to 175 attack and mag, 75 defense and spirit. The morale is now 1,000 morale per turn, which is awesome. It gives you a and it says boost damage for various chains. That's the conductors. We don't care, but that's chain speed. That is not chain cap, so don't be fooled by that one. That is not a 200% chain cap boost. That is a chain speed boost. You're probably not going to want this one, even though it comes with the 100% TDW. You're probably not going to want that one. The one you're probably going to want to go for is the rulers, because it has the 500 flat stats, still does the 1,000 morale fill. I think most people did the rulers when they got the chainmail in the first place, so then all you have to do is get the upgrade recipe for that one. But they are upgrading some of the other ones, like the ninja is getting 200 flat stats now, 1,000 morale. It's got 100% decrease or deeper. What is the word I'm trying to think of? Like 100% cloak, I guess. I've totally spaced on the term for that. but basically the opposite of provoke on it. And then 50% chance or 50% evasion on it. That's kind of nice, but again, I wouldn't go out of my way to get that one. The Guardians is this is the one that has the reduced damage. So I think it was 50% general mitigation. I'm not sure if they're going to increase that on that, but there was never a time that I was ever like, oh, this would actually be a great thing to have on a unit, which I was kind of disappointed by. I was kind of hoping, you know, I would have some use for it at some point, but I never did. So I don't think that one's worth going for it either. And then there's Avatar's Chainmail, which, you know, comes with an elemental buff ability on it, 1 use per battle. I don't think we would ever use that. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think so. All right, and that's pretty much all that's new for the current Clash of Wills. Very excited about this boss. I think it's going to be very, very fun because it's not going to be just your standard 10-turn, you know, get it knocked out. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I'm very, very much looking forward to it. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the units that might be useful for this one. All right, so I'm going to go into my Clash of Wills, and we're going to take a look at what we've got. All right, and now, you know, keep in mind that just for time and sanity's sake, I'm not going to cover every single unit that you could potentially use in this fight. It's also restricted to like the units that I have personally in my inventory. I'll of course mention, you know, do notable mentions and things like that. Of course, the new units coming out, Elena and Richt, are going to be super fantastic for the upcoming Clash of Wills. There's just, I mean, obviously those two units should be, at least one of those two units should probably be in your party for the upcoming Clash of Wills. All right, so yeah, I'm going to start with my first turn clear team. So this is the team. I don't know if it's going to be able to do a first turn clear, because it depends on if they bulk up the boss's base HP. Normally a boss has 1.8 billion HP as its base HP stat. And I think last year what they did with Thranothor is they just added a bunch of extra HP bonus mods, so that you could still, if all you were doing was just doing a level 99 clear with no mods, you could still clear it pretty quickly, like within a few turns. And you didn't have to worry about, you know, chewing through like 22 billion HP. I think with all the mods on, it did have something ridiculous like 20 or 25 billion HP. We'll see what they do with this one. Hopefully the base HP stays at around 1.8, maybe 2 billion or something like that, and then they just throw in a bunch of HP mods so that you can still take in a party and just knock it out on level 99 within a few turns. So anyways, this is the team that I plan to take in just to try and knock it out quickly and climb up the level ladder. I will note that obviously I do not have Elena yet. So my Elena will most likely go in my slot where I have Flaring Aether Rain. Okay, so I have Flaring Aether Rain there as my leader. Rain will immediately get replaced by the new Elena when I pick her up. That way my 2B will get the leader skill bonus. All right. Aerith is there, of course, for the turn one, you know, light imbue. Actually, does she imbue with her? I'm pretty sure she does, right? Now I need to double check. I'm freaking out a little bit. Yeah, okay. So it imbues everybody with light, 45% amp, 400% stat buffs, and 250% LB damage buff on her LB. So, you know, turn one, boom, she buffs everybody, gives everybody light element amps. Lion is then going to come in here and do defense steel, which does the 89% breaks with the 160% imperil, and also will do larceny human for the human killer for everybody. And then basically, you know, my DPS units will be 2B, Chizuru, who will just chain it up, and then I have Knights of Grand Shell in there just to cap with his Brave Shifted Limit Burst. That could, you know, he could easily be swapped out for any other damage dealer. If I do pick up an Ibarra along the way to getting my pitied Elena, Ibarra would probably go in that slot because she will chain Extreme Nova with everyone, and she does a 40% Katana Imperil. So yeah, I think Ibarra would probably be a better swap in for Knights of Grandshelt there. So hopefully I pick up at least one Ibarra so that I can throw her in there as well. Although I would need 2 Ibarras to get her EX2, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. And then Rain will get replaced with Elena. And hopefully that will be able to knock it out on turn 1, or, at worst, turn 2. We'll just have to wait and see how that does. As far as gearing the party for killers and whatnot, Chizuru is probably the hardest one to gear for killers on this one. You see, I didn't even haven't even fully geared her yet, but yeah, just a little bit of gear. Here's some of the killers. Souls Joined Through Prayer, that is Knights of Grandshelt's TMR. It's quite nice, 75% demon and human. You do have to be wielding either a large sword or a katana for this to be effective, so do keep that in mind. She'll, of course, have the cool Smile Vision card to just hit with her LB. That just bumps her LB up to a 450 times modifier for the turn 1 kill. Battle Intelligence is a nice, easy to grab STMR from the original Regina. It comes with Demon and Fairy Killer 50% to both, so that's a nice one to have. Okay, even here, her killers are not maxed out. You see, she's not maxed out on her killers. She's pretty difficult to build for the killers, but for just a first turn kill, hopefully we'll be able to get it done. Knights of Grandshelt, I don't even think I did build him. Yeah, all right, so I did build him. He's got the Dark Visions Katana, because we will be utilizing 2B's 35% Katana Imperil on her LB. And so, 2B will go first, and then Knights of Grandshelt, and then Chizuru. And I do that, because Chizuru and 2B both have tag chaining LBs. They don't have to necessarily go back to back. I can start 2B, wait a second for Knights of Grandshelt's LB, and then do Chizuru. Yep, just to kind of keep it all together. He doesn't need too much because he's a premium unit, so easy to build for killers. Again, Souls Joined Through Prayer and some Spirit Killers, and he is pretty much good to go. Yep, he's maxed on everything. He's got his own vision card, so that makes it pretty easy to build. All right. 2B, we're only worried about her normal form really here, because this is going to be the first turn kill. Standard cow gear and stuff. Spirit Killer, Fairy Eater Sense, A2's TMR there, her own vision card, and she is, yeah, she's also capped on everything, ready to go. All right, not worried about her Brave Shift form for a first turn kill type team. I'm hoping that this will get it done. We are going light element, so we are attacking the biggest weakness of the boss. You could probably build an ice team too if you had like Ayaka and Fryevia, or like, instead of Lion, you would bring Ish in that point, or in that slot, and you could do a very, very similar setup that way if you had like Ayaka and some other strong ice units. All right. As for a rank 1 team, I think that, this is really going to depend a lot. It's going to depend on a lot of things. So definitely take this with a grain of salt. I don't know if this team is going to get anywhere close to a rank 1. You see that I do have Abigail in here as a magic tank. I don't know if Elena is, because they said in the live stream that Elena is going to have some sort of magic tank support type skills. I don't know if Elena is going to be able to handle like being like the dedicated magic tank for this fight. Maybe she will. With a 750% all stat leader skill, she might be able to tank it just fine. I don't know. But if not, Abigail will be there to kind of consistently tank the magic damage, and then I'll just swap out Flaring Aether Rain and put Elena in that slot. If Elena can take it, then Elena will go in Abigail's slot, and I will keep Flaring Aether Rain. I will keep him in the party because he can still deal consistent damage thanks to his ability that gets the cow upgrade, Pulverizing Force. When you have full morale, this hits for like a 3,500 times modifier when you triple cast it, and he can do that every turn. So he's literally just boom, boom, churning out constantly high damage, which is great for these long fights where you need to be just like constantly churning out damage to make sure that you're getting the fight done within a reasonable time period. So Flaring Aether Rain will still be very good for this fight, even though he you simply won't use his limit burst ever. You'll just be using Pulverizing Force the whole time. So don't totally discount Flaring Aether Rain from this fight. I definitely think he'll still be good. If you have an EX3 Flaring Aether Rain, put him in there, because for one, he's a premium unit, so building him for killers is super easy. He does have a 200% human killer buff in his kit for himself, and you know, just have him do Pulverizing Force the whole time. Just have him sit there and just, yeah, constantly churning out Pulverizing Force, and he'll be dishing out constant damage throughout the fight. All right. Obviously, I've got Meniere Girls. I've been very excited to finally bring them back into the fold. They are also both very, very good at just dealing consistent damage. Even A2, you know, A2 gets a lot of crap because, you know, her kit is stupidly wonky, especially, you know, you see mine's only EX2, so I will not be able to fully benefit from you know, from her perfect rotation, but knowing that there is no turn limit on this one makes A2 a much better candidate for this fight, because you don't necessarily have to set her up for a turn 5 burst. You can basically just, you know, as long as you're dealing consistent damage, you can, you know, set up your big burst, and you'll probably do more than one big burst throughout the fight. And so you can kind of time that based around her cooldowns a little bit better. And then she can deal out just consistent morale damage with her triple bolting strike skill. Same goes for 2B. You know, she's got her bolting strike skills, her triple bolting strike skills that deal considerable damage, especially to humans, in her Brace Shift form. And so, you know, you have these 3 units here constantly dealing high morale based damage, all doing triple bolting strike. That's going to help you get through the fight much faster. And I also assume that, you know, Starlight Elena will also have, sorry, I say Starlight Elena, the new Elena coming up will also have triple bolting strike frames that she can utilize that deal morale damage. So if she can fit into Abigail's place as our magic tank, then we may actually be good to go. I don't know. But we may need Abigail just to sort of, you know, make it more comfortable getting through the fight. Sylvie is here, of course, just for like general support. She doesn't have any of the elemental imbues, but that's okay. Everyone else has their own elemental imbues to kind of take into the fight. Well, except for Kaito. I will have to figure out something for Kaito, I guess. So I will have to probably switch that out. If I do end up bringing, I'm hoping Elena might have some party imbues in her kit, now that I'm thinking about that. So yeah, we might have to switch. Honestly, we might switch Sylvie out for like premium Fina for the light imbue. You could also do Blue Mage Fina because she has Fairy Killer in her kit, but we also have Kaito for the Fairy Killer kit. So yeah, I might need to swap somebody into Sylvie's place that does a light imbue for the party, now that I think about it. Because even though Elena will certainly come with a light imbue for herself, the question is, will she come with a light imbue for the party? I don't know. I'm hopeful that she will, but she might not. We'll just have to wait and see. If not, then yeah, Sylvie will have to get swapped out for somebody that can do a light imbue for units like Kaito or Rain if he ends up coming in. All right. Kaito is of course still super great for this fight because he brings the breaks, and he does a 200% demon and fairy killer buff to the party. He's still probably one of the best fairy killer buffers in the game and in Clash of Wills. So he's definitely going to be on the party just to maintain that consistently high level of damage to the other damage dealers by supplying that fairy killer. Fairy killers are hard to come by, so and the fact that Kaito brings fairy and demon is really great. And then 2B obviously supplies the human killer. So there I've got my 3 killers for the party already supplied. So I think the only thing that I'm really kind of missing from this party is a light imbue. Actually, wait a minute. I think, does Abigail do a light imbue for the party? No, she just does a light imperil. I thought she did. Yeah, no. So she does have fire and light support in the form of imperils and elemental buffs, but no, she doesn't have. Yeah. Okay. Ah, well. So yeah, well, a lot of things are going to change. Like I said, until we get in there, we actually see what the boss is going to do. I think my rank 1 team is probably going to change considerably, especially because I am going to be bringing the new Elena, and we're going to have to see how she fits and what she brings to the party, and whether or not she can tank the damage. Okay? Now, as for magic tanks, I think a magic tank is probably going to be your best bet. If you know, as far as tanks go, if you're bringing a tank other than the new Elena that's coming out, Abigail is, of course, top tier. She's fantastic. Just general, you know, bulk-wise. Chow could be really good as an Omni tank on this one. But, you know, that would probably be the only thing he really brings, is being able to Omni tank if we needed an Omni tank. As far as tanks go, I think really Abigail and Cecil are probably going to be your best bets for magic tanking this fight, mostly because Abigail is just stupidly bulky, and then Cecil has really good elemental resists to help buff his own elemental resists and keep him alive, and he's also stupidly tanky. The other tanks in here, you know, I don't know. Snow is still like exceptionally tanky just because he provides his own mitigations. He can also swap between physical and magical if you need. Like if the boss does predictable magic on one turn, physical on another, and you need to swap covers, he can do that for you. So can Maeve. But Maeve's, you know, she's getting to be where Maeve is, unless her racial mitigations line up with the boss, she's getting a little bit too flimsy to effectively magic tank. So I don't know about that one. Ashe, again, I don't know. I don't think she's going to be the best magic tank on this fight. I just honestly couldn't find another good magic tank to fit in here. So on a budget, you could potentially bring in Beatrix if you're just doing a level 99 clear. But for a rank 1, probably not. If you're doing a rank 1 and you need a magic tank, it's probably going to be either Abigail or Cecil. You know, just saying. Those two are probably going to be your best bets on this one. But do note that Snow is fairly tanky if you have him to EX3 and you upgraded him. You know, you gave him all his crowns. And do remember that he can do... I think he does have human mitigations in his kit. Let me just double check that. Which one is it? Is it Heroic Guard? Yeah, he actually has human and fairy mitigations in his kit. So because of that, he would actually be much better suited to this fight than the other magic tanks. So I think Snow could actually be fairly competent since he has 50% human and fairy mitigation. And that's for all allies, both physical and magic. So keep that in mind. Snow might actually be really good, and he can imbue the party with dark if you decided you wanted to go dark element on this fight. All right, so yeah. So if I had to pick top 3, be Abigail, Cecil, and Snow for magic tank. All right. I'm not even going to cover physical tanks because I think you know, you're going to want to magic tank for the majority of this fight. So I don't think physical tank should even be considered for this one. So let's go straight to support. So here are some support units that could be useful. And when I say support, mostly like I'm thinking killers, I'm thinking elemental imbues, things like that. And so Blue Mage Fina is a free unit you can get. You do have to have started, I believe, Season 3 of the story in order to acquire her. But after you've done that, you get everything you need to upgrade her fully to EX3. She can imbue your party. And if you fully upgraded, I have not fully crowned her. She got silver crowns a while back. I have not crowned her yet. But if you do, I believe this amp goes up to 45%. It's a light imbue with a 45% amp if it's fully crowned, and a 150% fairy killer buff. So that's really nice. Really nice kind of all-in-one skill there as a support unit. Will you use her in a rank 1 team? I don't know, maybe. I mean, she brings fairy killers, which is kind of a hard killer buff to fit in a party. And if you don't have Kaito, she might be your next best option. So, you know, she might actually make it on some rank 1 teams. I'm not really sure. She's definitely a great pick for a budget if you're just doing a level 99 clear, though. So definitely don't forget Blue Mage Fina. Of course, Melissa. She's just fantastic in Clash of Wills in general. Huge for morale, like, you know, builds up a crap ton of morale. She does have Human Killer, a 250% single target and 150% AoE Human Killer. She, of course, brings the Dark Imbue for the party and the Dark Amps. You just need to make sure you bring a Dark Imperil, because she doesn't have any way to Imperil Dark. So she can consistently imbue your party to Dark for you if you decide to go Dark Element for this fight. So she's just got a lot of really great skills in general as a support unit for this fight, and she definitely could be really, really good for this one. I mentioned Premium Fina previously about how she might make her way onto my rank 1 team. She is really great as far as light imbues, you know, as a light support unit, because she can imbue your party on demand with 30% amp. You can summon Azura with her to add a 30% light amp field to the party, which is really, really nice. She can do a little demon and human killer buff, which is nice. So, you know, you definitely don't want to discount that at all. She's just great for like healing and general support as well. Her SLB also does a 400% full buff, 300% LB damage buff, 45% light amp, which is really great. So as a general support, she is she's probably going to be really good for this fight. So if you can pick her up, yeah, that would be really great. So definitely don't forget about. And then she can triple bolting strike with if you need her to. So that's kind of nice. It's a nice little bonus. I put Starlight Elena in here mostly because, you know, I was just kind of running out of units to fit into this category, but I wanted to just mention her because if you have her EX3, she can do her Celestial Brilliance, which does a 150 Demon Human Killer buff for the party. Also gives her a nice light amp to herself, and it does a Sword Imperil if you need it. And then, you know, don't forget that she is still really good at just dealing out consistent damage with her Gemini Blade if you give her her intrinsic ability. And so, you know, she could be nice just to bring along for the killer buff and for dealing consistent damage throughout the fight. She also does have a Perfect Dispel, which could be very, very useful if we're needing to dispel the boss's buffs. All right. So, yep. She's got a few things that you can use there. She's really, you know, when I say support, it's really just the killer buffs and then the sort of, you know, damage support, so to speak. So Bulwark might actually be useful for this one because he does demon and fairy killers. He's not as good as Kaito, but he does have a 200% demon killer buff in Clash of Wills and a 150% fairy killer buff. So his fairy killers are, his killers are Bergamots, which does 150%. That's on demand. And then Moop's Melody is the fairy killer. But then in Clash of Wills, he does have, if it'll, I think it's, is it Sacred Score? Yep, this is the 200% demon killer buff with a 30% demon mitigation for the party. All right, so don't forget about that. He can also imbue the team with ice or dark if you decide to go with either one of those elements. And ice, imbuing the team with ice does greatly boost your morale, so he can really help with your morale generation as well. Will he see use on a rank 1 team? I don't know, but on a budget team, he might actually be very, very useful for you. And then, of course, the original Elena. Original Elena is useful for her Bracers at LB, which does the 150% Demon Human Killer. Also does some buffs for the party. She is useful for removing Elemental Imperils and putting up a 100% across-the-board Elemental Resist buff. That does have full uptime. Of course, break resistance. We know the boss is going to try to break us, so might as well have some break resistance with some buffs on there. She can also do a little bit of morale fill, but it's really not her strong suit. And then I think in Clash of Wills, she does get an ability that does a 160%, I want to say, is it, it's not Azure Protection, is it? No. It must be on this one. Yeah, Azure Might, which does a 160% demon human killer buff for the party. And that's, I think you only have to have your morale above 100%, right? Yep. So as long as your morale's above 100%, she's got that on demand. Now her damage is, of course, absolutely dreadful, so she's very much sort of a budget option. She can imbue the party, by the way, with ice or light. So that's something as well. Again, the amps are pretty terrible, but you know, it is what it is. She's definitely more of like a budget option, I would say, as far as support goes. As for breakers and imperils, here's some units you probably want to take note of. Golbez is still, you know, one of the better dark breaker imperilers, because he also brings some damage. If you're bringing, you know, if you're going dark, you're most likely going dark because you have Ibarra. And so Ibarra does have a leader skill that does affect Golbez, but then you have to go full dark team in order for that to work. But you know, if you can swing it, that's great. Even if you don't have a leader skill that buffs Golbez, his imperil and breaks that are pretty much full uptime, all right, could be very, very useful. So you may want to consider bringing him if you're going with a dark team. You can also bring, like if you have the new Gilgamesh, you know, Gilgamesh is obviously a great option. If you got Hawkeye from the Legend of Mana, and you got his crowns, he is now a really great breaker and dark imperil unit. His damage still sucks, but you know, he does have a 160% dark imperil. So if you have Hawkeye with his crowns, definitely throw him in there, or Gilgamesh in Golbez's place. Lion I already mentioned, but Lion is great because Lion has the 160% imperil on the Grandest ability, but then also has it on SLB. So if you are going for like the longer fight, you know, Lion can maintain that 160% imperil for you. It only has full uptime if you have her EX3, of course, but even if you don't have her EX3, she still might be useful for bringing it. You know, you just kind of time your damage around when the 160% imperil is going to be up. And even, you know, even the normal LB does a 145% imperil. So, you know, you're never without a decent light imperil with Lion on the party. And then, you know, also just supplying breaks for general use. Kuja is also useful for a light imperil, because Kuja can do, where is it? Is it this one? Nope, that's just his, time is almost up. So he's got a 160% imperil on this ability, and once you get it going, I believe it has full uptime. You can't use it until turn 3 or 4 or something like that. So it doesn't start, you don't get it at the start of battle, but once you get it going, it does have full uptime, and it comes with with some good breaks to go along with it. 35% rod imperil, which is kind of nice. So if you're bringing mages, you know, that's a good option there. But do keep in mind that you do not get this at the start of battle. So if he's probably not the best option for like a first turn kill team, because you can't start using this till I think turn 3. So just keep that one in mind. But other than that, yeah, you know, I mean, he's not bad. His damage is pretty terrible, unfortunately, but he can definitely be there as your breaker and your light imperiler. Fryavi is, of course, nice because she imperils both ice and light. So if you want to go with light element, that's great. She can do that for you. If you want to go ice, even better, because she does the light amp field along with her. You know, she can imbue the party, amp the party, does the ice amp field all in one. So she's definitely better suited for an ice team. So, you know, she always works really well with Ayaka. So if you bring Ayaka, and you have Fryavi on the party, they work really, really well together. But you could also bring her, if you were doing light, she would probably just spend most of her time in her Bray shifted form, where she's going to be supplying her breaks and her light imperils over here. Okay. You know, Reagan the Return, you know, just for a general breaker and light imperil unit, he's not too bad. His And don't forget that his LB also does a demon killer buff for the party. His SLB is 160, his normal LB is 140. And, you know, and he just supplies, you know, consistent breaks throughout the fight. So, you know, he's not a bad choice if you don't have anybody else to imperil and break for light. And then, of course, Ish is good for ice if you're going ice, because Ish, if you crowned her, does 160% ice imperil with the big breaks. And then, you know, her SLB maintains you know, 145 150% imperil on her SLB with decent breaks. So yeah, she's definitely not a bad unit. Even a regular LB does 145 with 87% defense and spirit, 85% attack and mag. So just as a general breaker and imperiler on an ice team, she's, you know, she's pretty good. You could also, obviously, if you're going ice element, you're most likely bringing Ayaka to the party, so you can always throw Ayaka's vision card on Ish and just have her chain with Ayaka as well. You know, her damage is going to be crap, but, you know, it is what it is. It's at least some damage, and it's a consistent chain partner with Ayaka. All right. Last but not least, I'm only going to do one DPS just because I think the range of damage dealers is probably going to be pretty wide on this one. And also, I don't have like a lot of the latest greatest damage dealers. So like obviously Dwayne will be great. You know, Ibarra is going to be fantastic. I don't have Dwayne or Ibarra. I don't have Nora. Nora, you know, Nora might not be the best just because she tends to be focused on lightning. But, you know, Nora might still see some use. She might be all right in this one. I feel kind of bad for people that pulled for Nora because she kind of got the shaft, seeing as her element isn't even on this list. And this is like the cow after her, like, featured cow. She really only got one Clash of Wills with her featured element. And, yeah, that kind of sucks for people that pulled on Nora. So, I don't know. She might be all right. Obviously, Elena and Richt are both going to be very, very good for Clash of Wills. Don't have them, of course, because they haven't come out yet. And so I think there are a lot of damage dealers that I simply don't have that are going to be really, really great for this fight. As for the ones that I do have that I have not mentioned yet up to this point, you know, the new Laswell, the Dark Lineage Laswell, he is a very strong ice damage dealer. And even though he doesn't have the Clash of Wills tag, if you're bringing Flaring Aether Rain on the party and you use Flaring Aether Rain's tag because for whatever reason, let's say you don't pull for Elena because maybe you just don't have enough Lapis. Maybe you pulled for other units and you don't have enough Lapis to pull for Elena. But you do, say, for example, have Flaring Aether Rain. Laswell will get Flaring Aether Rain's leader skill and makes him fairly strong, and he can consistently do his brave shifted LB. He is a roll shifter, so you don't have to worry about a trance or anything like that, and he can just keep, you know, pumping out his LB. And one of the nice things that he has in his brave shift form is he does have an on-demand perfect dispel. This is a perfect dispel, and he has it on demand. So if it turns out that we're going to need a lot of perfect dispels in this fight, Laswell might actually not be a bad choice. He's also a premium unit, which means building him for killers is very, very easy. So do keep that in mind. And if you're building a nice team, he might actually be a good choice for this fight, just in general. So, you know, if you have him in your party, don't forget that he's there. You know, he is easily forgettable because he's not a cow unit, but he might actually be all right on this one for just dealing consistent damage throughout the fight. Obviously Olive, you know, honorable mention to Olive because she is just the queen of just pumping out consistent damage, you know, just doing her SLB every 3 turns. She's super easy. You just, boom, SLB every 3 turns, and you're just constantly churning out damage. And the fact that she can be imbued with any element, you know, just makes her really great for this fight. She does have a light imbue to herself too, so if you wanted to go light, but you didn't have like a dedicated light imbue unit or support unit on the party, she can imbue herself with light. So there is that going for her as well. Unfortunately, I don't think any of her killers match up. She doesn't have demon, human, or fairy killers in her kit, I don't think. I'm going to double check on that. I don't think. I think she's beast, machine, flying, yeah. So yeah, she's aquatic, avian, beast, and machine killer. So yeah, she does not unfortunately have any of the killers. So building her for killers is going to be really, really tricky for her. But yeah, I mean, if she's the best you got, she's the best you got. Of course, Ayaka. If you're going with an ice team, Ayaka is definitely going to be really, really good. She does have light element in her kit as well, don't forget. But ice is, of course, her primary element. She's also going to be, she might be a little tougher to build on the killers on this one as well. I think she does have some fairy. Wow, what do I have her built for? Okay, so she's actually not too bad on the killers. I honestly haven't even geared her for anything, and she's already at 300% human, or sorry, 300% demon, 250 human, and 200 fairy. So she might not actually be that hard to gear for this fight, now that I think about it. She does have a demon killer in her kit. It's a of course, it's a one use Magnus for 5 turns, but there it is. So it could be useful in a pinch. I think she can buff her own demon killer by 200% on demand though, right? I believe it's this ability. Is it this one? No, that's her buffing ability. Which one is it? Spirit of the Season? Yeah. So this one does 200% demon killer to herself, and some mitigations as well to demon. And so she at least has a full demon killer to with full uptime to herself. So that's something. Tsukiko gets honorable mention, of course, because for her light Imperil field. Now, depending on if the boss puts up its own field more than once, this might lose a lot of its value, right? We kind of saw that in the last fight against the Robo Doggo, where, you know, it put up its buff field more than once, and that actually made Tsukiko a little bit less desirable to bring, at least as far as rank 1 clears were concerned. And so she may, it just depends on what the boss does with its own field, right? So she may be useful for doing the light Imperil field, but if it gets overwritten, it might be much less useful. So keep that in mind. But she is, she can deal consistent light damage. You know, she has her Shining Karmic Retribution. And so she can consistently pump out damage. She's a triple bolting strike chainer. You know, she's an older unit, so there's a better chance you might have her at EX3. So, you know, definitely don't forget her if you're struggling to find units to fill out your squad. She can do light damage. Cloud, of course, gets an honorable mention because he does have the Clash of Wills tag. All right, he is, as you can see, he is a Clash of Wills tagged unit, so he will get buffs from units like Elena, and he is non-elemental, so you can go in. You can imbue him with whatever element you want. Of course, he prefers lightning, but you can imbue him with whatever element you want. And he does have this special Clash of Wills damaging skill. Which one is it? True Infinity's End, right? So I think this one goes up to a 3,000 times modifier at 200% morale, and you can use that every turn. It's a one-hit finisher, but he can do that every turn. So similar to like Flaring Ether Rain, even though, you know, light or ice is not the element he wants to go with, he can still deal out consistent damage every turn with that skill once you hit 200% morale. So, you know, he's not the best option for damage dealers, but he can be there to deal consistent damage if you need him to. And he gets the Clash of Wills tag, so if you have Starlit Elena, he is going to get a 750% attack buff from the leader skill. And on the note of consistent damage, I cannot forget my best bunny girl, Esther. She is, even though she is quite old at this point, you know, she's over a year old now at this point, which is basically geriatric in FFBE standards. She does have demon killers in a kit, can supply a demon killer to the party, but she's more notable because she can provide consistent damage. Like literally every other turn, she's just doing her LB. Every other turn doing her LB and just dishing out consistent damage. And if you do bring Sylvie on the party, obviously that gets amped up a little bit. You probably, you know, you may be bringing Sylvie on the party, maybe not. You know, really the only thing Sylvie's doing for this fight is the demon killers and then her buffs and general support, which is, you know, still really good. And for a long drag out fight, Sylvie might still be good to bring as a support unit. And if you do, then Esther can be there just supplying consistent damage every other turn. and that could be useful in a longer fight. And that's the only reason I really put Esther on there. That, and of course, I love her to death, but she could be useful for just churning out consistent damage throughout the fight for you. All right. Also, if you ever needed her to be a physical tank, you know, she can provide that as well. So like if you have Elena on the party tanking the magic damage on certain turns, Esther might be able to be there to tank the physical damage on certain turns for you if you needed that. Or if you needed her to omni-tank, she could also do that potentially. Okay, so just some things to keep in mind. And that's pretty much it. I didn't want to go too crazy, get too far into the weeds on this one. You know, I could probably talk even more and talk your ear off, but I didn't want to do that. I think things are really going to be left up to seeing what the boss does. It's going to depend on my pulls too, right? So if I do really well on the Elena banner, and, you know, I get my EX2 easy enough with just having to go to pity, I might also then throw some Lapis at Richt, and that'll obviously change my party around considerably. So I didn't want to talk too much about party compositions, considering that there's still just so much up in the air. And also, we really don't know what this boss is going to do, because, you know, last year, Thranothor had actually 2 completely different boss AIs that were triggered by one of the bonus mods. So Thranothor acted completely different if you were just going for a level 99 clear compared to going for a full bonus mods clear. So really, we just don't know what to expect. And so a lot is going to be up in the air, but those are just some units and some things you'll want to think about going forward and going into this Clash of Wills. I am excited for it. I will note that I'm going to be, it's a poorly timed vacation that I planned it a long time ago, but it's a poorly timed vacation. I am going to be going away this weekend, so I won't have the as much time as I normally do to do like my walkthrough guides. I'll definitely do a poll video to do my Elena polls and like free polls and stuff like that. But then as far as clear guides, I may not be able to do a whole bunch of like walkthrough guides. I'll certainly try to do like quick guides with like no vocals or anything like that, just to show you how I cleared certain aspects like level 99 and what like that. So I'll try to get as much of that out to you as I can over the weekend, and then next week I'll have more time to like sit down and do walkthrough guides for you. All right, so be looking forward to that. I'm super excited. Let's get into it. Let's do some Clash of Wills. Let's do some polls. Hopefully my luck is going to be with me on this one, but that's why I saved up the Lapis, just in case the luck is not with me and I have to go to pity and beyond. All right, so thank you guys so much for following me, and I will see you on the other side.